All right, everybody. Welcome to the Sceptical Scotsman. This is the Skeptical Scotsman. Hey, Carl. Um, Today, I want to talk about a couple different things. Okay. First off, we're going to talk about Tennessee. Tennessee news, I think it is, where two elected officials of color, they were elected officials of color, were thrown out of Tennessee's Congress. I'm not sure how the hell that works. Apparently, it was legal, but there were three elected officials who, I guess, started a protest in the Capitol building of Tennessee. Don't ask me, I don't know. I'm only reporting what I know. But what's interesting to me is two young black men. It doesn't matter if you're for BLM or against it. Okay? Here, and I'm not taking a side in this. I'm merely reporting what I understand it to be to you. Now, these three Senate members, or whatever they are, they're duly elected by their people. Apparently, the rest of the Tennessee Senate voted them out. What I'm left wondering, the quandary I'm left wondering, is Congress didn't vote these people into office. The people did. So how can they be ousted without the voters doing anything against the people who were ousted? Again, two young black men who were. This protest was done for the anti-gun movement, which I understand to a certain point. They're trying to get assault weapons banned. I completely understand that. I have no problem with it. Some of you do, and that's okay. I'm viewing my opinion here, and since I don't have a dog in this race, I'm just reporting it to you. What's funny is that third person is not black, is not young. She is a 50-some-odd-year-old congresswoman. She's white. She wasn't ousted because the movement wouldn't work. She said, if I remember the quote correctly, it's probably because of my color. Now, without me being racist, I believe that to be true. Why? Because the other two were black young men standing up for a cause that they're supposed to be addressing. An address to something that we should all be concerned about. Gun safety. Am I advocating to abolish the Second Amendment? By no means. Do I think the Second Amendment has been misinterpreted by a bunch of gun-toting, assault rifle-owning, wannabe soldiers of fortune? Yeah, I do. But that's just my opinion. You don't have to agree with it. That's just my opinion. Now, another issue that I'm going to take up real quickly is there's this issue going on because of abortion. Like I was told today, apparently Sarah Huckabee Sanders, apparently she was promoting a bill which bans abortion or some other such nonsense, and says that we're going to go back to the good old days. The good old days of Christo-fascism, where if you don't believe in the same God I do, you're wrong. You talking about that good old days? Those are not good old days. That's called Christo-fascism for a reason. If I was Muslim, which I'm not, and I don't have a problem with most Muslims. Hell, my next door neighbor is a Muslim. Dude is just like the best neighbor ever. No complaints about him whatsoever. He's a Muslim. He wears the cap and the long shirt on holy days. All good. When he's wearing that stuff, we make sure we try to stay, if we're messy or anything, we stay away from him, just because we don't want his holy clothes messed up. That's being sensitive to his religious preference. Not that we have one. We're just being sensitive to his because we understand. He's an immigrant. He is no longer a member of the IRC, so he's no longer getting a lot of government assistance. He is, in fact, working his ass off 6 days a week, 12 hours a day. Doesn't make a lot of noise. Dude, I got no problem with him. But with this abortion crap, see, this is what I don't get. I live in Kansas, as most or all of you know. We voted on abortion staying on the staying in the Constitution, the state Constitution. 60% of the vote was for keeping it in the Constitution. In all these other places across the country, the need to keep abortion is overwhelming. But still, well, you need to hold another vote. My constituency didn't count. No, your constituency didn't count as the majority. You wanted the power to fucking override whatever the hell you wanted to do. And this anti-abortion movement is almost like a cult at this point. And some of you may disagree with me, and that's your right to disagree with me. I don't care. It's good. If this podcast ends up upsetting you, well, then maybe somebody should upset you a little more. You may not agree with abortion. You may hate abortion. You may think abortion is aberrant and akin to committing murder. But might I include the definition of murder is to kill a living person. And you're not a living person until you are born. Do you hear me? You have to be given birth to be considered a person. Scientifically speaking. Now, if you're stating, well, life begins when blood enters the fetus, no. That's when that's when blood is introduced to another system of cells. I'm speaking purely scientific. And now there are Christian scientists who will argue that to death. And I get them arguing it to death. They have that right. Does it mean they should? It's probably not a good idea because these are the same people that said, well, we have to include God in everything. No, we don't. And I'm not going to argue your faith to you. You have your own faith. I get that. It's all right. And I have no idea what these two lines in my damn camera are for. Oh, they're gleaning from the lights. I did not know that. Figure that mystery out. Okay. Now, I am pro-choice. And some of you may enjoy that. Some of you may think it's bad. But it's my opinion. I'm allowed to have my opinion. Me and my wife fully support pro-choice. We may not like abortion, but I can't carry a baby. I have kids, but I can't carry a child. She's carried her own children. And we're about freedom. And what these two instances have in common is when people talk about, well, we need a smaller government. If you're passing all these laws that mean people have to pay attention to their neighbor that much, it's not shrinking government. In fact, it's enlarging government. It's making it bigger than it was. That's what I don't understand. And I haven't had anybody competent enough to understand that viewpoint tell me how the fuck it's shrinking government when in fact passing all these laws and then having people monitor you to make sure you're following the laws, that's called increasing government, not shrinking it. I mean, all these people that argue that the Republicans and conservatives want smaller government, well, you're not making the government smaller, you're making it bigger. You know how many people, like we passed this constitutional amendment or whatever, the Parental Bill of Rights, and I intend on, if it goes the way I think it's going to go, which it's very likely to go, I will flip that rule on its head and use it against the very people trying to get it passed. Because I don't need some Christo-fascist idiot saying, well, we can't disrespect the church. The church has no spot in school. That's something, you go to church every Sunday. That's where they're supposed to get that from. They can get it at home in church. Or if you want a kid, you send your kid to a private Christian school. Go ahead. But don't use public funds to get that. And yes, in Kansas that was blocked. It was decided that using private federal funding to issue grants to children so that their parents could get them enrolled in private Christian and religious schools is illegal. And it is. I don't give a shit if you're the Koch brothers. You want to put your kids in private school, you pay for it out of your pocket, not out of the taxpayer's pocket. Taxpayers shouldn't have to provide for your kids' Ivy League education. And let's see. Yeah, I just see it as an overreach of power with abortion and this ousting of elected officials from their fucking position. You may disagree with me. Feel free to leave a comment. I beg of you, leave a comment. Especially if you disagree or agree, it doesn't matter which one. I don't care. I like it when people comment. I may not answer you back, because the last video I had, I think I had like 6 responses, and one of them was like ungodly long. And I literally, this person typed this huge long comment up. Loved reading it. But literally, I could have boiled it down to like 4 sentences and been done with it. As opposed to like a 3-page comment. Anyway, or anywho, as a side note to all this, just so you all know, my dad passed away. And he passed away at 66. He died of senile degeneration of the brain, meaning dementia killed him. I've known about this for quite a long time. I knew it was going to kill him. I knew how it was going to progress. Everybody was a bit surprised by it. I wasn't at all. The man I knew disappeared from that body 3 years ago. And I did cry then. But right now, like even when we got to see my dad's dead carcass, or his dead body, it didn't bother me that much. It was a bit weird seeing my old man dead. But I was expecting it. I'd been prepared. I've known about his disease for years, like 20 years. And it just kept slowly going downhill and progressing like that too. It got to the point where where a family member threw him in there and then threw away the key and said, "Screw it, you guys can deal with him," and didn't tell anybody for 2 years. 2 years that cost us a little bit of life, where we could have done a little bit more, but we had no idea where he was staying. And people are like, "Well, I'm so sorry." I get the condolences. I accept the condolences. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate the condolences. What is irritating to me, I'm still learning to deal with it, is that people tell me I'm sorry for your loss. No, the man I lost disappeared more than like 3 years ago. What was left was a flesh husk of a man. And I know I should probably be crying, but I'm not, because I prepared for this for years. I had 20 years to prepare for this. My dad, in my estimation, shouldn't have even made it to 2023. And yet he made it, halfway through March? Or something like that. He's been dead a minute. I don't feel... I've already seen... the last time I saw him when he was still somewhat functioning, he was completely gone. The only thing that was there was the instinct to eat and walk around. That's it. No, I know some of you are saying I'm just being cold-hearted. No, I'm not being sociopathic. I had the time I needed. I got to see my dad one last time. My daughter got to see her grandfather. She was a bit scared of him because, of course, he is he is a complete invalid. He can barely move, and she wasn't prepared for that. But she got through it pretty okay. And then when we went to go do everything ended up being all right. And just in case those of you on YouTube will be able to see this, but I bought a small teak urn for my dad's remains. I am going to show it to you. And I do mean it is small. See, there it is. Nice little teak urn for my dad's remains when they come back. This will be sealed up and given to my mom. That way she can have it. If she decides to have it buried with her, or if she wants to be cremated, then we'll decide what to do with with both urns. But for the moment, my mom picked this one out. I picked it out a few weeks ago, and then we went over to my mom like a week and a half ago, asked her if she liked which one she liked. We pointed at a bunch of different ones, and she pointed the teak one, which I picked out beforehand. I said that's the one I like. That's the one we should go with. And yeah, my mom was like, yeah, she liked that urn. It looked very nice. There was a darker rosewood one, and she didn't want that, so we didn't get it. And that's only like a $20 urn, I think. I know it's small, but you don't need 8 inches for 2 inches of ash. There's no point. Now that we've got the sentimental stuff over, a relative of mine came back into town after many years of being gone, and that person and I were getting reacquainted, familial wise, of course. And this family member is also hopefully now past that huge hump that comes with death and multiple losses, because this relative's bike was stolen from my house, which irritates me. We gave that family member a bike to remunerate from that, and gave that family member advice on what they should do, especially because that family member was drinking themselves to a bad place. Been there, done that. Hopefully that family member gets the help they need, because I can't have that lush, stupid, drunk crap around my daughter. I cannot do it. Okay, then on the plus side, let's see. What else? Apparently, people are clamoring for Trump. Do I want to see him indicted? Yes. Do I think his supporters are going to bolster him and fund him? Yes, because they've already done so. At this point, I have to look at them as you've heard of Joel Osteen. I'm sure all of you have. If you haven't, he's a televangelist who asks people to send him money. He needs money. God needs money. Well, if God's immortal and all-knowing and all-seeing and all this other crap, he doesn't need anything. Honestly, he doesn't even need us to believe in him. If he's that omnipotent, he doesn't need anything. It's our need to think that he needs us that exists. And no, I'm not tearing down religion. I'm tearing down Joel Osteen and people like him. The televangelist who says, send your seed. Send us money. And they live lavish lifestyles while their parishioners live lives of near poverty. Trump does the same thing. He collects from wealthy donors and poor donors alike. It doesn't matter to him. There's a sucker born every minute. And anybody who combats that, I got some beachfront property for you in Arizona. Literally, that is how dumb that shit is. You can like Trump. You can be a fan of his. Doesn't make any sense, but you can do it. I'm not going to say it's illegal for you to do it, because it's not illegal. But I wanted to make sure I got through about the people who got pushed out of their positions, because they can actually run again in a special election. If they get voted in again, I would say it's time to stop for the Republicans in Tennessee to stop seriously digging down in gerrymandering, because as I see it, that's the problem in Republican states is unchecked, unbridled, aggressive gerrymandering. All because they want to get the result they want to get no matter how they get it. I think it's a bunch of shit, personally, gerrymandering. I mean, why not just section off places? Like, whatever happened to be having a constituency that canoodles through a street or through a town. No, do away with the gerrymandering. Block that shit. Well, we're the only house on the block that likes white Republican conservatives. Then move! Move to a fucking area where that's there. You know? Y'all may think I'm crazy, but I think gerrymandering is bullshit. Gerrymandering is just a trick of politics to get all the people of a certain mindset, whether or not they live in the same neighborhood or not, to be counted as the same area. And they shouldn't be. Nice little blocks never hurt anybody. At least, not politically anyway. But I digress. I'm going to be working, so I don't know when the next podcast will be, but this is kind of short because there's a whole lot of drama going on everywhere else. Literally, there is. But yeah, you guys have a great day, and please, be kind. I don't know about rewinding, though. Bye-bye.